Today is April 8th, 2014, and you're listening to I Think You Think. We're your hosts, and we carry no credentials worth noting. I'm Justin. This is...
Sequoia.
And...
James!
All right. Nobody wants the little question marks above their head this time.
No, not this time.
Anyway, we're a weekly topical podcast that focuses on what we think and also what you think. Feel free to email us. You can follow us on Facebook. If you're watching us on YouTube, you can just click that little like button and share the video as well with all your friends. That would be great, too. Check us out on Chicago Now blogs. All the links for all of these things, they're in the underbar of the video. They're also on our website, ithinkyouthink.com. And I Think You Think is produced by StolenArts Productions. So we're diving in quick to just jump right in, but like always, we like to kind of say what's been going on in our lives. So what has been going on in everybody's lives? We'll go with James then first.
I've been working a lot, but the last 72 hours of my life have been incredible.
Why?
Just has been.
So there you go. All right. So incredible life for James. And you, Sequoia?
Midterms this week. Yay. Finished BioShock Infinite, which was awesome. Oh my god. And I've been still watching Bones. Bones is my main show right now, so
I feel like we should have you now talk about BioShock Infinite maybe at the end of this month.
Yeah, we kind of talked about that a little bit,
thing, because you talked about it, I talked about it, and
right.
Now maybe you could finish the game by then.
Nope.
No. Okay.
Not gonna happen.
There you go. Anyway.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's all good. Don't worry about it. We'll let it slide this time. So we are. This is our 69th episode, which I know, right? So, and as we all learned back in middle school, 69 is a sexual position, and so it's really funny. So we're going to talk about sex. We're going to talk about the sex talk. We're going to talk about
the rules of attraction.
And pretty much see where it goes. So let's just dive right in. Okay. All right. So you guys have lots of kids, so you probably have the sex talk with them, right?
I don't talk with any of them.
The ones that he knows about.
No, neither of us have children.
Yeah.
Right.
You're the only one.
I do.
So I'm out of here. Let me know when it's part of the podcast.
Excellent. Okay. So I do have my son just celebrated his 9th birthday. He just turned 9. Why he celebrated his 9th birthday yesterday, the 7th. He got a tablet.
Happy birthday, Brennan.
There you
Happy
go.
birthday.
He got a tablet for his birthday.
Nice.
So it's a lot of fun. I mean,
what operating system? Sorry.
It's all right. Android 4.2.
Nice.
So it's a little one. It says 7-inch, but I've used it. It's fairly solid. I mean, it's got the Tegra 3, I think, processor, which is a decent processor for those who really care. It's a dual core processor, which like my first laptop computer wasn't even dual core. So, I mean, that's telling you something. And that was only 8 years ago. So there you go. It's technology for you. Anyway, so obviously I'm married. My wife and I do have sex from time to time, believe it or not. Marriage isn't the end of sex. And we live in a house with 2 children.
It's just the slow death of it, right?
It's indeed.
Sorry,
No. It's all right. My wife doesn't listen to the podcast.
Perfect.
Actually, we do have married, divorced, never been married.
It's true.
So that is
It's
something.
true. It is true.
You know.
True.
And you got divorced because there was no sex life, and I just haven't reached that point yet. No.
Yep.
No. I don't know if that's true.
It's actually far more awkward than you know.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know if that's true. It doesn't really matter.
Whole nother podcast.
Really. Anyway, moving on. This is a little bit of an embarrassing story, so bear with me. But as I don't know, maybe I never had this experience, but when I was growing up, some of my friends had shared similar experiences in which, not that their experiences what they like walked in on their parents having sex. That wasn't the experience that my wife and I had with our son. It was after we had sex, I was heading off to the bathroom, and I noticed that their door was open. And they're just down the hall from us. It's not like that far. It's not like we're next door or anything. I like how James using it.
I know.
Sorry, I got work stuff going on. I apologize to our 30.
I thought he was like, I just don't want to hear about this.
He's like, I literally don't give a shit.
Doesn't apply to me. Anyway, so I peeked my head in there.
I don't think I want to hear the story. But
I don't want to visualize these things. I'm the one who has to tell it.
It's true, but we have to live with the consequences of having heard it. So
I'm an attractive person, so do you see how many emails we get about how many people who want me to get married to them? Just pretend.
Oh yeah.
Thank you.
So many emails.
I don't.
Bob from Arkansas, he's gonna get back.
All right. So
anyway, so I peeked my head in there and I said, "Oh," I said, "You're still awake?" And he said, "Yeah, I was wondering what those noises were." So I was like, "Well, this is going to be a great opportunity." I was like, "I'm not going to have this conversation right now in the middle of the night when I've got work in the morning." So I said, "We will have this conversation later." So we were a couple of days later cleaning the kids' room. Me and my son. My daughter doesn't really help. Like she just tries to not make as much. She's 3. So
okay, yeah.
She just tries not make as much of a mess. And so we were having this conversation about what sex is and why adults do it. Whenever I have these kind of conversations with my son, I always try to balance it with I don't want him to think that it's something only men and women do.
Mm-hmm.
I want it, and it's so it's difficult because what is the reason for sex? The reason for sex, from a biological standpoint, is to procreate.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we evolved it essentially
across all species.
Right. Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Produce sexually.
Specifically, sex is more used as a stress reliever. It's used because it's fun,
pleasure, bonding.
Exactly. And so there's a mixture of like the science behind it, like why do men and women do this? Why do male and female cats do this? Those type of things. And at the same time explaining that it's fun. Adults do it because it's fun. And at the same time trying to not necessarily steer him away from it, but he's only 9.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't think he's like worried about should he have sex now or anything, but trying to explain to him that it's not something you just go and do with anybody. It doesn't have to be special, but it should be something that you've made a decision about. Like it should be something you should add some seriousness.
It has weight to it.
Exactly.
Yes. Right.
And then because I am the parent and I get to do this, and when he's the parent, he gets to do this. I get to embarrass the crap out of him about talking about sex, adults having sex. So I hope I sufficiently embarrassed him so that he has an awful, awful story to tell in the future.
So he's got like a good one.
Yeah, a good story to tell about. Oh my God! So
at his wedding, he's gonna stand up and tell this story.
Yeah.
Great.
So it was weird because I'm not the type of person. I don't really shy away from confrontation or having those kind of conversations. But it was a weird conversation to have because I knew years ago when he was born I would eventually have to have that conversation with him. But even during it, like I felt like it was easier than I thought it would be, and at the same time, like I wanted to have enough of the conversation so he understood what was going on, and to explain to him that if he hears that, shut his door. Like I'll try to make sure that it's like it's
Sorry, I wasn't expecting you to say that.
No, I mean it's gonna take place, and like he needs to at least respect the fact that it's going to take place, and go to sleep or shut your door when you go to bed, at night. It's not like it can happen all the time. And I don't exist in that kind of a world.
Where's lunch? What's that noise? Oh,
I'm going to my room. Click.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, it was sort of surreal, sort of conversation, and I'm always afraid that like he's gonna get to 13 or 14 and still have some real misconceptions about what sex is.
You can almost guarantee that.
Yeah, and I mean, 13, 14. I'm in my early 30s, and I still probably have misconceptions about sex.
You do, Justin. Especially when you're drunk.
It's true. And you've seen how I tackle stairs when I'm drunk.
Face first.
That's kind of like...
I remember the analogy I had, just like the stairs.
Yeah, there you go. So...
For everyone not watching the vidcast, I just want you to be aware that I'm sitting in between these two gentlemen while they're having this conversation right now.
And for those who aren't watching the vidcast, you should watch it so that you can see how embarrassed I'm getting. I can't wait to hear it from my wife, actually. Like, I can't believe that you actually talked about that. Like, hey, people wanted to know.
Yeah. I actually remember the sex talk with my mom.
Okay.
Very, very well.
Oh, yeah?
Well, the school district that I went to had very comprehensive sexual education. My sexual education started in 3rd grade. They brought us, they showed us videos and sat us down and talked to us about our growing bodies and all that stuff. And then we had one again in 6th grade. And then we had one again in 8th grade. And then we had a full health course that we had to take that a full half of it was about like sex.
Okay.
And stuff like that. So I had very comprehensive sexual education from my school, which I am very, very lucky for, I think, because like all the biology of it and all the science behind it, and it was not abstinence only talk. They went in detail about birth control, contraceptives, all that stuff. So I was really lucky in that regard. But my mom still, of course, wanted to have the talk with me. So I think I was like maybe 14. And she sits me down and she explains to me about condoms and birth control, and she talked to me a little bit about like orgasms and just, the general stuff. It was probably a pretty progressive talk, all things considered. So at the end of it, she's like, I want you to promise me one thing. And I'm like, me, 14-year-old me, I'm, okay, here comes the abstinence talk. Okay, whatever. And she's like, I want you to promise me one thing. And I'm like, oh, what is it? And she's like, please, 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 do not wait until you're married to have sex. She was like, you have to test drive that shit before you buy it. She's like, I don't want to think about you getting married and never having had sex before.
Yeah.
And she was very like, you need to have sex with several people before you get married. Yeah. Like very. And it was, I was 14. I was like, I think I can do that. I think I can do that. Not
I gotta go now.
Funny you should mention that.
Don't worry, Mom. It's okay.
But
is 5 too many? No, 5's good. Good. I'm marrying Bobby.
Good. Yeah, I'm done. Because we're in love.
But from Arkansas, he's gonna call you.
But so yeah.
You got to watch the vidcast. You're missing out on so much.
Yeah. There's a whole aside thing that'll need to happen later.
Am I wearing pants? Am I not wearing pants?
You never know.
This is the sex talk. Who knows? But yeah, so I actually had a very interesting sex talk. And by the time that my mom got to me, I already knew a lot of it.
I grew up in a school system that did the abstinence only.
Yeah, I know a lot of people who did.
It didn't. I should say that they didn't do abstinence only, but they made it seem like you could have sex if you want, but if you do, even if you use a condom, you're probably going to die from AIDS. Is basically the kind of sex talk that I had growing up.
Have you guys seen Mean Girls?
What was that?
Have you guys seen If you have sex, you will get pregnant and die.
Yeah.
Yeah, sex ed when I was in high school, being the oldest one here, I remember just being very sciencey about you can get diseases and there's going to be pregnancy and the consequences of that. And there wasn't a lot of the broader scope of what is actually going on. My mom and dad got divorced when I was really young. No one ever really had the sex talk with me. It's kind of something I learned the trade as
the old-fashioned way.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, Yeah. Like, I don't know. Like, no one had the talk with me. You learn stuff from friends and, you hear about things and then you experiment with things and.
You used to play and then you change it to experiment. You're like, I don't know if that's the right language to use.
Probably not. But yeah, I don't know. It's definitely a different thing now. Like when you guys were talking about what were taught in school, especially considering like you grew up in a very small town.
I did. I grew up in a very small, like, hippie community though, and that's not even like making a joke out of the fact that everybody says I'm a hippie. Like, it was legitimately a hippie because on top of comprehensive sex education, we also learned we also had wilderness survival classes. We learned all about our local ecology and botany. Like, we planted stuff to save the forest. Like, I had a very, very unusual education. So that it's not really a surprise that they had comprehensive sex education. And they did say at, one point or another along the line, you should really try for abstinence. But it was never like harped on. It was said like maybe once. And then it was just kind of like, you will most likely choose to have sex. And when you do, these are the things that you need to know.
Right. And that's the thing that, like, I wish schools are doing a better job of it now. But to tell children to fight against 3.5 billion year old thing, I mean, like, it's not quite that old, but sex is it's a base instinct. In the same way you can't tell somebody, well, you just have to practice not being hungry. You know, I mean, it's a base. The
consequences are a little different if you achieve that
significantly.
goal.
Yes. But I mean, that's why sex should be about education. If there's anybody who's out there who is watching this and ignored the fact that I choose explicit for most of the stuff on iTunes for what we talk about, even though a lot of times it's not really explicit, but
but we do cross the line sometimes.
Yeah, and so it's better to just do that. If you are listening to this and you aren't supposed to be listening to it, here's the most important thing that you should take away from this. It's about education. Like, it's use protection. Like, that's the biggest, hugest thing. You have to use protection. There isn't any reason why you shouldn't. I'm married to a wonderful woman that we celebrate our 10-year anniversary of being married this September.
Nice.
And we still use protection every time. Protection can be lots of different things, but you don't really want to have sex unless you are prepared to face the potential consequences of that aspect.
Right.
And the kind of decisions that entails, because accidents can happen and you need to be prepared to deal with those accidents. And if you're with somebody who isn't willing to at least have a conversation with you about the potential for what could happen, it's not somebody you want to have sex with. And that goes either side, whether you're a boy, whether you're a girl, if you're whatever. Obviously there aren't. If you have two boys or two girls, then you're not going to have
whoever
that
partner is. It doesn't matter.
Yes, exactly.
It doesn't matter.
Because sex, aside from the actual physical ramifications of potentially creating a child, there is the aspect of there's a lot of chemicals that go on in your brain. There is a lot of dopamine, endorphins that go on, and they're linking chemicals. They're things that they draw you to that person deeper. There is something to be said that when you have sex, there is an aspect of you that stays with that person and vice versa. I'm not saying that you can't have one-night stands and things like that. I'm just saying that dopamine is a powerful connecting drug, chemical that connects you to other people. And so those are things to consider when you're thinking about having sex with somebody.
You need to take it seriously. And if we start jumping towards older age groups that feel like what we're talking about now is kind of high school age, if you will.
Yeah.
If you start talking to the older age groups, like our society, and I think one of the reasons why sexual education is still kind of stunted in a way is because there is still shame.
Yes.
Around.
Oh, absolutely.
The fact that people have sex, the fact that people enjoy it, the fact that people, do it for fun, the fact that people can have a one-night stand or have non-conventional sex or whatever it is. There's like shame around it.
Yeah.
And it's like anything. If the three of us want to come and hang out and play Barbie Playhouse, that's our right to do. We're adults. And sexual intercourse, as long as it's done respectfully between two people and safely between two people, we should have the same right.
Or 3 or 4 people. As long as it's all consensual.
If all 3 of those 4 people.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
But there is still a lot of shame around it, and that's something that I feel like we haven't really moved past. There are other things, that we have. There's more progress, but it's one of those things that, and I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's, I don't know what it is.
Go ahead.
It's a little strange for me because I'm in a much younger age group than you guys are, and not
okay.
A lot younger, okay.
Than me, yeah.
Than you, yes.
But you're the middleman here. So.
Yeah, I'm on the low of this, age grouping.
Right.
So, no, but being on the younger scale of it, and not having children too. It's a very strange thing for me because I'm living in a world where it's open. I can talk about it with people I work with. I talk about it with my friends. I talk about it with my mom. Like, I talk about sex a lot and openly, and it's never a big deal in my life. Like, sex is just a part of life, because I'm part of an age group that is sexually active and
Right.
a lot of times not monogamous, and we're all open. We've all grown up in the same era where it is much more open. We've had access to the internet, and a lot of them have, if they didn't get it at school, they got it from the internet or friends. It's a very open world for me. And because there's no children, I'm not really dealing with the sexual education part of it yet. You know, and I'm not going to have kids either, so that would probably really never be a part of my world. So the idea of like sex being...
Well, I mean, it could be. I mean, you have friends who have children.
Yes, I have 2 goddaughters, yes.
Who could potentially reach out to you as the person that
yes.
they want to have a
Which
conversation
we've
with.
actually, we talked about right when she was born was, you know, that if she ever, you know, I know Becky always said if she doesn't feel comfortable talking to me about it, I want her to be able to talk to you. And I was
Right.
like, you know, that I'll be fine talking about that sort of thing.
It's also different if they reach out to you about questions. Like, I would have loved for my son to have been having questions as opposed to me like directing the entire conversation.
Yeah.
And just trying to explain.
Well, he's kind of at an age where he's too young to really have the questions.
Right. However, he has played games like, and maybe this is my fault as a parent, but he's played games like Saints Row, in which there are very sexualized characters and things.
Rated M for mature.
It is indeed, and so because he was playing that, and because he had said some things in conversation, that's what prompted me to say, okay, I need to have this conversation with him, so at least he understands what sex to a certain extent is and why it's important and why he needs to make good decisions about it as he continues on. Because you know, my son is he's a sweetheart. And he's been playing mature games for quite a while. I mean, he played Halo, and that's rated M as well. So.
Yeah, but it's more for violence than...
It is, as opposed to some of the sexualization. But, sorry, you were saying.
Oh, but it's... I know that there's still shame around it, and I know when I read the headlines, and I pay attention to the news, especially when it comes to, like, you guys both know that I'm very into feminism and, you know, following all that sort of vein. So there are a lot of news articles that come up about that. You know, obviously the fight to, you know, for birth control and that kind of stuff, that all is a part of sex being considered shameful. But it's very strange because in my personal day-to-day life, I don't view it as shameful. And I never have, because I grew up with very open parents who, you know, really promoted positive sex, you know, and having a positive view on sex. So I don't know. It's a strange thing. It's a strange thing for me.
Yeah.
But sometimes, like, there's 2 things that you made me think of. Sometimes being the one person in the room that treats it that way without any shame makes other people feel like they can be open.
Yes.
So you could be having that effect on people. So maybe normally they are shameful, but since you're able to talk about it openly, it like gives them free reign. Like, she started it.
I will say that
you're also part of a generation that, you're right in everything you said, but when you watch media, who is 2 generations before you basically are in charge of that, that's where the shame still is.
Yeah.
And like, you know, homophobia and racism before it, a generation almost has to die out for the change to really start to take hold. And that next younger, I mean, I'll call it more progressive because from my perspective it is, to not be racist, not be homophobic, and be open about sex is unfortunately actually progressive for our society. Like, for that to happen, that next group of people that are more progressive have to step into that seat of power, reach that age group where they're in control, and then things start to change more. But those people at the top, like, if you ever seen, there's a documentary, like Rated R for something, or it's on Netflix.
Yes.
And they talk about
it's
like,
so good.
They'll show like men experiencing sexual pleasure in movies, but if they try to show a woman, it gets NC-17 right away.
Yep.
And like, what the F is up with that?
And
like,
it could be them just experiencing. It's like there's not anything else. I mean, it's not.
They
like
could be fully clothed.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and there not being a significant amount of cuss words or violence, and it will get that rating. I mean, that's the whole documentary is about the unfairness of how they rate.
Well, and you know, I think that what's really awful about there being so much shame around sex in society is that sexual education comes down to just the biology. It's basically like, once the biology part is over, that's when people stop talking. And so kids are left to sort of try and figure it out. You know what I mean? They're left trying to figure out the social ramifications of having sex, and they have no idea how to actually have sex and have good sex. And I think women in particular, like, for a long time, I had no idea what good sex was, or what it even meant to have good sex, or what that meant, or any of that. You know what I mean? And it's one of those things that I felt like was really, nobody ever told me, hey, you don't have to fake it. If it's not happening, you can be honest about that. Those are those things.
You should be.
Yeah.
The only person you're ever selling short women is yourself.
But that's not something that a woman is ever told. I was never told. And I had very comprehensive sex education. I had a mom who talked to me about it. I had someone who I could talk to about sex and stuff like that. But we're missing out on those deeper lessons that we could be teaching. We could be setting people up to be happier in general with their sex lives if there was less shame.
And there's actually a pretty good YouTuber,
Lacey Green.
Lacey Green.
She's
I think
amazing.
she's Go Green 18 or something like that on YouTube. But do a search for Lacey Green. She's terrific. I mean, she is open and honest about sex and how women should. Exactly what you were saying.
Yeah.
I mean, I was watching her for something the other day, and I was thinking, wow, I wonder if Sequoia knows about her, because she is right up Sequoia's alley in terms of how she thinks and what she says. Is like, Sequoia would love this girl.
Oh yeah, I love her.
So
yeah,
let's transition over into something that I'm going to have very little to say on, in rules of attraction.
Yeah.
Your wife doesn't watch the podcast.
That's true. So I think she listens, though.
I don't think it has. I think you can. I mean, you found someone, so you and you got it right at one point in time for yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but, yeah. I mean, I would say one of the things that I enjoyed a lot after I got married, after I was with somebody, is I never could be friends with girls. Like, for me growing up, like, they were always a potential partner, and that's part of how I was raised, and my mentality. And it's not how I think about it anymore. And part of it was because I got married, but as I've gotten older and more understanding and respectful.
At least we finally cleared that up.
Yeah. Just so you know, Sequoia.
I'm feeling a lot more relieved about sitting in the middle.
But James, you're not out of the.
I love that you're gender neutral.
So I mean, like,
he's inclusive. I'm sorry. Oh God! Please watch the vidcast so you can just see what's going on in my world right now.
Why you gotta be all offended and uncomfortable?
But yeah, I mean, like, one of the biggest things that opened up the relationships that I could have experienced more relationships was the fact that I had found somebody that was my partner. And then I had more access where it wasn't always in the back of my mind as, is this a potential person? Is that flirting? Is it because she's interested, or am I flirting too much? And it's just like
right. That stress of
right. And now I can just be friends with them. We can just have that relationship.
See, I developed that skill from being a manager, because you have to manage a large variety of people. And in the beginning, I managed a lot of younger people, male and female alike. So immediately, all of a sudden, that whole group of people, male and female alike, become very neutral. They have to be, because you're managing them. So it kind of balances things out where you start treating everybody the same, to a degree, except for a certain set criteria. And in a work establishment, it's like, are they showing up on time? Do they do a good job? Do they come here with the intent to work hard? So now there's a set criteria. And then I'm able to kind of take that and in general apply that in my life. I have a lot of good female friends that I've known for a long time. Like, I barely ever talk to her, so this is going to sound weird, but one of my best friends in the world is one of my ex-girlfriends. Her name is Katie, Ray, and Shalea, her son and daughter. If you guys are watching, love you guys. They're awesome. They're great. You know what I mean? And like, at any time, I know I could like show up at her house and I'd be able to sleep on her couch. Or if she called me if she called me right now and said she needed me right now, this podcast would be over.
Well, no, we would continue talking. James could leave, though. But it wouldn't
you think
be
I
over.
would trust you two alone in my house?
Yes.
But there is that point, though, like previous in my life, where it is true. Like, every person of that chosen gender, whatever it is that you run into, that's always a consideration.
Right.
And then it adds like a complication to that interaction, because you're always like wondering, what if?
I wonder if that's why some guys are so, like, they get weird around other gay men. Like, not other gay men, but gay men, because they're worried that gay man finds them attractive and is interested.
Oh, that's a very common fear.
Oh, okay.
That, you
That's
know,
a huge
they
part of
think,
it.
yeah, like...
And see, to me, that seems like really, like, wow, how...
You have an open mind about it, and you're
That's
not
true.
like an egotistical
and, you know,
fool.
I'm sort of... If a gay man found me attractive, I would be ecstatic. I would be like, wow, thank you. I appreciate that.
I remember once I was like stocking shelves at a pet store, and I was on the top shelf on the top of a ladder, and I just noticed this guy walking by, and he just totally checked out my ass. And I was like, I couldn't have been much more than my early 20s. And I just remember thinking that I was flattered.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean,
it's like, you know, it was like a confidence booster. You know what I mean? Like, nice.
It's a little sexist, too, I suppose. I mean, it kind of demeans you down to...
Not really, but I mean...
Sexual objectification, not sexist.
Well, whatever. I don't know. I don't know all those feminist terms.
Why do you have to make it non-gender neutral? Why can't it be humanist terms?
Yeah, that's true. Sorry, humans.
All of you, except for Bob.
See,
Silver Bob. Justin's not writing.
I'm not interested.
It's a very strange thing for me because you guys talking about, like, you know, being attracted to one gender. I'm attracted to both genders. I'm bisexual.
I didn't say that I wasn't attracted.
No. What I was saying is, like, you know, we were talking about, like, the whole, like, you know, being hit on by the gender of not your choice.
Oh, okay.
If that makes sense.
But I mean, it's not that strange. You can understand the concept.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I mean, I'm bisexual, so it's never really... I don't know.
See, I like to think of sexuality as a dimmer switch. It's not an on-off. It's not like 3 settings. It's not heterosexual, bisexual.
Oh, no, and I don't either.
Okay.
I don't either.
It's like, there are some men I find attractive.
Thank you.
There you go.
No, but I mean, you can, if you're honest with yourself, you can see someone that is not of your chosen gender and go, that is an attractive person.
Right.
You can see that. Like, I was watching Man of Steel, and a girl said, she's like, wow, he's really attractive. I'm joking. I'm like, I couldn't tell, really? Like, that's the standard?
Yeah,
Have you seen Man of Steel?
That's what a good-looking man
He's got,
looks like?
very conventional good looks,
Yeah.
and, you know, he's very ripped. He's a very attractive human.
Right, but would you make out with him?
I mean, is he doing a sequel? How much money is he making? You know what I mean? Like,
no, I mean, like, seriously, because that, I mean,
No,
we're getting into something different, but okay.
I wouldn't,
see, and
because that's not my sexual choice.
right.
You know what I mean?
And at least for me, there are some men that I would find attractive that I would be willing to have a sexual encounter with. But like I said, it's not all. It's not like I see every single. I'm more
Not you,
attractive to
Bob.
most women than I am to most men. Like, there's a very small selection of men that I might be attracted to, and a very large selection of women that I would be attracted to.
So James and I switch seats. I'm just kidding.
No, Justin wants to be in the middle. So yeah, we're talking about the rules of attraction and what is that thing that's attractive? What is it that draws somebody in? So first off, I would like to mention, what are the mistakes? What are the things that we're wrong about?
Well, first of all, I'll say that the rules of attraction, I mean, if we're getting down to a basic point, are really about genetics. Like, if I find someone to be physically attractive, if they smell good to me, if visually I find them attractive, if I want to have sex with them, what that means from an evolutionary point of view is that our genetics differ enough that any potential offspring would be more viable, because they would have a mashup of genetics that would give them the highest probability of not having any diseases.
For the way that your alleles are combined.
Exactly.
Some people find
the immunities.
Right. Some people find that, and this is why you have this, but some people don't find a larger difference in the genetics as attractive, and that's why you have situations in which you have incestuous relationships, and I'm talking about incestuous relationships with adults who are consensual. I'm not talking about
but the way that
non-consensual one.
The way that, like, basic, it's supposed that,
correct.
You know, the basic wiring is for genetic difference in attractiveness.
But mass media wipes a lot of that out.
Not really, actually.
You don't think?
Well,
no, I don't think
the
so.
ones that the mass media really accentuate are the things that we as a savanna upright walking ape find attractive are the things that they accentuate.
Mm-hmm.
Symmetrical features.
Yes.
Women find men with strong jaw lines and things, very masculine features as
V-shaped back.
Yes, as a good person to have a fling with versus men that have more feminine features as a good person to raise a family with.
Unless they're on birth control. And that actually changes.
It reverses?
But it makes the more effeminate men more attractive because women, when they're pregnant, are because the way birth control works is it tricks most birth controls is it tricks your body into thinking that it's already pregnant because you can't get pregnant when you're already pregnant.
Right.
So when a woman is on birth control, it changes her hormones and what she's looking for. And when a woman is pregnant, she wants to surround herself with those who are genetically the same as her so that she can be protected by her family. So when a woman is on birth control, if she finds herself attracted to somebody, there have been studies that show that when a woman goes off birth control, there's a higher likelihood that they will get divorced because she no longer finds him as attractive when she's not on birth control.
I think we've talked about that in the podcast before.
I don't think so. I know you and I have had that conversation before.
Okay. It's very possible.
But yeah, so that's my default.
I'm not worried because my wife doesn't take birth control, so
yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, if she goes off, we'll get a divorce.
But so technically that's what that's about. But the stuff with like mass media, I'm kind of, what do you mean about like mistakes?
The common mistakes that we make in choosing a partner based on rules of attraction that are untrue for the individual. Okay. People end up all the time with people that aren't right for them because they make a decision. The pretty boy and the pretty girl get together because the pretty girl wants to be with a pretty boy and the pretty boy wants to be with a pretty girl, but it's a horrible relationship. They have nothing in common, or we make the same mistakes our parents made. Because we're attracted,
right?
You're looking for your mom or you're looking for your dad or, whatever it is. And that can also be a horrible mistake because sometimes that's a failed relationship. You know what I mean? Or whatever those things are, presumptions that we make. I remember in high school, like I could have listed off the things that I wanted in a woman. I couldn't do that anymore. Now I know I'm going to find it or I'm not. And I don't know what it is. I know some things from like relationships I've had in the past that I cannot have in a relationship.
Okay.
That I know. There are some things like that just cannot be, I lived with it every day and I'm never going back.
Number 1, please review this list before you email James.
Yes, Bob. Leave me alone. But I feel like it takes a while for people to learn the things they're finding attractive that are actually incorrect. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and that's one of the biggest reasons why there are success stories of people who get married out of high school and stay married forever. And depending on what that relationship is like, and some of us will never maybe know, that would determine whether or not it's really a success story. But I would recommend, as somebody who actually, my wife and I did get married relatively young, I'd like to believe that I lucked out.
How old were you?
It was 10 years ago, so I'd have been 22. So, yeah, relatively young.
Yeah.
She was 19.
I got married at 19.
Okay.
Mine was not a success.
I will say, in complete honesty, I think one of the things that really kept us together in the early years was our son. Being a parent, and so many people who wanted us to fail. There was a lot of people who were hoping we would fail, and so there was a mind.
I don't want to. This is probably weird to bring up on the podcast, but was your families? Did they not like each other?
No, it was not our families.
Okay,
it was friends around us, and I'm not talking. This is not any friends who I currently associate with.
Good, because you shouldn't.
No. The people who felt that way. We're not close friends, and I don't even talk to them, any of them anymore.
I don't know if he's going to say it, but whoever you are.
The people who I love my wife. I like being with her. We're really good friends. We enjoy the same types of things. I don't know how our relationship will change in the future, but I know for as long as at this point that she'll always be in my life with some regard. I would like to believe that it's because we stay married forever, until one of us dies, I suppose. So it's nice.
Buzzkill.
Everybody dies, James. Newsflash. Everybody dies.
I just thought we all had to poo. How many rules are there?
Quite a few, actually.
But no, I mean, like, I enjoy our relationship. I think that if I was going back out into the field or whatever, I think I would have a pretty good idea of what I was generally looking for. I don't know if it would be like a cut dry like list, but it would be like somebody that I at least got along with.
Yeah, but that's different. Like getting along with someone isn't something like the list I was talking about was a very concrete list.
Yeah.
It was a ridiculous list. I couldn't even tell you what it was anymore.
Yeah,
but
like
it was like
blonde hair, blue eyes,
whatever, like specifications that have nothing to do with the reality of what it's actually like. What I've told a lot of young people, because I've been lucky enough to manage a lot of young people throughout my life, is that sometimes when you can see.
Did your phone just send a message or something?
It did just cough again.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think I heard it. I think I got the tick tick tick.
But there are, you meet two separate people, and the first person, as soon as you see them, they're extremely attractive to you. The second person, they seem average to you. You're not like, but you meet them. And then person A, the really attractive person, talks for 3 minutes, and you're like, I can't look at you anymore.
I can't talk to you. Yeah.
And the other person talks for 3 minutes, and you're like, please don't stop talking, keep talking. And 3 hours later, now you look at these two people, and you realize that that person isn't very pretty anymore. But this person has become very compelling and very attractive. And that's where attraction really exists. Mm-hmm. Because attraction is not a photo. Attraction is like an interaction.
Okay.
Attraction is like, it either is or it isn't, and you're probably never going to see it coming. And if you think you're going to see it coming, then you're going to miss it when it gets there.
And on
off the soapbox again.
Yeah. And on that note, no. Any other things we want to kind of wrap up with? No. We're cutting a couple of these short because I've got things I've got to do, and you guys have things you've got to do. So, yeah. But we have 68 other episodes. If you haven't heard them, go check them out. They're on iTunes. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you like the video. Please share it with people. I mean, we want you guys to see it. We want all y'all to see it. It's important to us. It's nice to know that people are talking about it and are interested. So do share it. If you are interested, you want to be on the show, you want to be a guest, we are starting to set up guests for the rest of the year.
I think we're booked through July now.
I think right now booked through July.
But you never know. Like, let us know, because the last minute cancellations happen. This happens in real life here, so you never know what's going to happen.
And I mean, we can sometimes. I've got 2 or 3 people who are just waiting in the wings, waiting for an okay to say, hey, this is the month that I want it. Mm-hmm. So there are, even though we're booked for the next couple of months, we have lots of people who are interested. And there isn't any specifics to how we choose, really. It's just, what we think might be fun to talk about during that time. So please let us know if you've got a great story. You got a blog you want to pitch. You got, jewelry that you want to sell.
StravaMax.com.
Yeah, indeed. That was awesome.
You guys did that
practiced it. Yeah.
That was great.
It was very good.
Naturals.
So, and since I'm messing around a lot more with the editing, there was probably a picture there for you to look at.
What? But then again, maybe not. Who knows? If you're listening to it, there wasn't a picture.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Check it out. Check out our vidcast.
We can't put pictures in the audio yet, but we're looking into it.
We're really pushing the vidcast on this one. Like,
I know.
Unintentionally. It was just like, watch the vidcast.
I'm excited about the vidcast because I can do more editing now, so that's why I'm pushing it. But if those who just catch it on iTunes, it's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Just, there you go.
And, we know we have some regular listeners out there, and no one, except for Bob in Arkansas, has really reached out to us. But if you have questions, if you have feedback, if you have a reaction to everything, we really do want to hear from you. So,
Indeed. I think maybe we haven't been really calling to action enough, and I really want to push that call to action.
Yeah.
If you've heard us, if right now you're sitting at your computer or you're listening on your iPad or iPod or whatever.
Whatever technology you have.
Yeah, whatever it is. Feel free to let us know. Send us an email. Anything. Just comment on the video. I really want you all to reach out. We want to have that interaction with you. That's why we're here. That's why we do it. So
Indeed.
So there you go. Also, Alex and the Anders, thank you very much for your music. There's a little picture. There should be. I've been trying to remember to put links. I think that there's links in to where you can get their music. So if you are interested, there you go. All right, we will see you next week. We're gonna record in a couple of minutes,
Yeah,
but
we're gonna
we'll see you
time
all
travel to
next
the 15th.